the big pleasure to warmly welcome you to our first multi-stakeholder workshop. I'm very happy to see so many faces of you there, to have you here today, and to engage together with you in a joint dialogue and exchange of your ideas and visions on sustainable land management and what you think how we best can get there.
What we actually mean by sustainable land management is that the farmer being able to manage the land to increase efficiency in terms of yields for social benefit, increase income, and then conserve the environment without necessarily polluting or degrading the environment. Workshop held by Interfaces in coordination with 8 regional project partners such as WASCAL, COINS, Declare, SARA, UDS. The essence of today's meeting workshop was to develop a participatory learning platform. Why do we need that? We realized that the Interfaces project and its regional project, which is funded by the German Ministry of Education and Research, BMBF, is tailored to improving sustainable land management in Africa, with specific focus on West Africa, and more specifically Ghana, Senegal, Benin, Togo, and to some extent in the eastern and southern part of Africa. And today we met to start the process of developing the participatory learning platform, because if we want to make a change or we want to advance, scale up and scale out sustainable land management, one important thing is that different stakeholders have to be brought on board, because different stakeholders have different priorities. Livestock farmers have different priorities compared to crop farmers. Policymakers at MOFA have different varieties compared to Lands Commission. But all these have a role to play in ensuring that land is safely and sustainably managed. So today's workshop was to bring together these different categories of stakeholders for us to first develop the participatory learning platform, which will serve as a platform for exchange, and then take further to look at what visions, long-term goals can actually help to drive such sustainable land management efforts in Africa. For farmers and for stakeholders from policy, from MOFA, from customary lands, from even regional House of Chiefs who were present, we realized that to them, land management, their goal for sustainable land management is to increase productivity, that is yields, to increase income, uptake of climate-smart agricultural practices, and most importantly, address land tenure, conflict, and women violence or women disproportionate access to land. So to them, these are the basic things that they want to see. And in the long term, they want to alleviate poverty.
So I'm managing one of the biggest land retailers in the northern region, that's in the Withdrawal Pastoral. And I can assure you to come to my team that we have more than, not just say multiple of women, we have their names, they're having acres of lands and water. So this time what it means is that you don't even need to carry your husband to the chief. You go there, the elders will leave you to the chiefs, and then you tell them what you want to do with the land.
I don't know if we are talking about in Tamale camp, but just in September we were in Zabzugu, and that was the main issue. Okay. And we had to bring together all the traditional rulers in that area to see how we can get women to have access to land, especially for projects, because there's a project that is in that area, and the women they want to support, they don't have lands.
Because we are in the metropolis, that's so
okay. We are very happy to have the chief who is a woman, but a chief in northern Ghana, and sits in the regional house of chief. That is something that we found it to be very interesting.
They should stop selling lands but lease to investors. Then if an investor comes, he needs a part of land. You look at the area in which he wants to do the investment and see whether that area, that investment suits that part of land. Because we need land for farming.
So if we don't develop a robust land use planning, all these things that we want to achieve are not attainable.
A woman cannot get land from her husband, and she can also get land from her father. Yes. So at the husband home, she has no access to land, and when she gets back to her own family, they say, oh, she's from somewhere. So the husband will say, oh, she's from somewhere. Then the father will also say, you are for someone. Yes. So in both places, she can have land.
I would like to
raise another issue because somebody mentioned conflicts, right?
Yes.
And I was thinking completely the different kind of conflict. Of course, they are all kind of related, but I was thinking of as a person who works in livestock, I was thinking of conflict between livestock keepers and crop farmers.
Okay. So Dr. Lanza wants to.
I want to add a dimension.
Oh, sorry.
I did a study sometime, and what came to light is that after we try to sustain, to intensify the use of land, there is even competition for the use of crop residue,
Exactly.
which is a major ingredient in sustainable intensification. I found a situation where we taught the men that, look, incorporate your crop residue. And he told me, if I incorporate my crop residue, I'll lose my wife. Because she uses the corn stalks and the guinea corn for fuel wood.
Call on policymakers to take initiatives that will lead to entering into memorandum of understanding with landowners, heads of families, chiefs, to ensure that once an agreement is entered into for women to have access to land, they can have access to the land to use for the period that this agreement holds.
So we have different categories of stakeholders, and it was important that since each stakeholder has different dimensions, different perspective, we bring these people together to develop a common goal and a pathway of how we can actually scale our sustainable land management. So at the end of today, out of all the discussion that came up, we are going to develop what we call the theory of change, which is gender sensitive. Gender sensitive in the sense that it caters for the needs of men and women and youth. And the essence is that for interfaces and its regional projects, they want to scale up sustainable land management practices and innovations. But to do this, they have to make sure it is contextualized. And in Ghana, and Northern Ghana to be more specific, today's discussion has helped us, giving us a deeper perspective of how they can contextualize their innovations and their upscale of this innovation.